All right. Hey, this is Sid Owsley. Welcome to the Determination Determines Destination podcast, the 3Ds to success, where we share stories of people using the 3Ds to success. Determination determines destination to overcome obstacles and challenges in their life. And today I have with me my man, Stefan Sizzle Suggs. Sizzle is a 29-year-old man born and raised in Washington, D.M.C., the DMV, same as me. He escaped a tumultuous childhood filled with violence and lack of structure. He knew once he graduated that he would have to leave or he wouldn't make it. After graduating, he moved to Morgantown, West Virginia, only to realize that his habits and issues followed him. He would spend the next decade of ups and downs only to conclude that he was indeed born for greatness, and it's time to use his experiences with pain to inspire and motivate young men to avoid similar pitfalls. He is an avid poetry writer and believes it can be used as therapy. How you doing today, Sizzle? Great to have you, man.
God is good. I'm doing great, Sid.
So tell us your story of using the 3Ds to success. Determination determines destination to overcome the obstacles and challenges in your own life.
Yes, sir. I'm no stranger to adversity and having to overcome it. And like you read in my bio, I grew up in Washington, D.C., no stranger to just tumultuous times. And, it taught me something in the process. It taught me that you have to be resilient. And, when I was young and honestly, all the way up until the pandemic, I used to think the things that happened to me were, it was happening to me. Like it was happening to punish me or whatever the case may be. But I see it all different now. I see it as if anything, it was training me and preparing me for, what my future will hold. And if I could overcome it, stay determined and stay disciplined, then everything that I went through is going to put me in a great position to be able to understand the people that I'm actually, we're put on this planet to impact.
Oh, that's great, man. That's great. And so you've been in the Les Brown Power Voice group.
Yes, sir.
How has that impacted your life?
Man, it's tenfold. The Les Brown Power Voice group, and I even doubled down, and I'm in John Talarico's Thinking to Results group as well. And I can honestly say, I was telling somebody this yesterday, just the accountability level, just the professionalism. It's a lot of nuances that, when you say you want to be a speaker and you're not around a group of speakers, there are a lot of things that you just don't know, and you won't know until you know. So I can say that, to be honest, I'm so grateful. I feel like it's almost accelerated my course into the speaking world because, man, you know how Les Brown is. He's the GOAT, man. You can tell him your life story, and he'll tell you your life story better than you tell you your life story. So it's beneficial.
That's so true, man. And so you mentioned John Talarico and his course, the coaching. Talk about that too, how that's impacted you along with the Power Voice.
And John Talarico, he's the GOAT as well. Like let's say, and a lot of other success people say, you can't always see the label if you're inside the jar. So a lot of our issues we don't recognize are our issues, right? Like, I mean, we live with ourselves every day. You're going to defend yourself. You can go to bat for yourself. You might not always be in the best position to see your flaws or to see the little things that are holding you back. So I think coaching and mentorship is amazing. And when it comes to John program, I love how John's always there for us when we need him. But at the same time, it's a community approach. That there's so many people from those connections that, I have my own personal connection with now that, we have our own accountability kind of system where, we check on each other and make sure everyone's okay. Because, I realize everyone is high achieving, but everyone's at different stages of that. There's like some people are more beginning, intermediate, some people a little farther. So I feel like my biggest thing that I gather from it is just the accountability part, just having that group of people who can remind you what you said you wanted to do, and you see that they want to do similar things. You guys all push each other, man. I feel like, I'm 29. The reasons why I never chased my dreams prior to is because when I get a little bit of momentum, I didn't have people around that was like, yo, don't give up. I got people that won't even let me quit if I want to right now,
Yeah, that's really important, man, to have that support system around you when you're achieving things, when you're working on that goal or dream, when you're on that journey, you got to have that support. And so many people out here are, you know, trying to do it alone,
Can't.
and in circumstances where, you know, not only it's just not supportive, it's negative. You know, if it was nothing, that's one thing, but when it's negative, that's a whole nother barrier that you have to get over. You know.
Man, and we all know what it's like, man. So I tell everybody, everybody around me when they'll say, "Oh, you know, this is not," I'm like, "Hey, man, get a mentor." Like no one is too proud to get a mentor. And you think about it, you think of like the greatest in the world, Tiger Woods, Serena Williams, Floyd Mayweather, whoever they are at the top of their profession, they still have coaches too. There's someone who is not as good as them that still tells them what to anticipate. Everyone needs a coach.
That's right. That's right, man. And so, say you grew up in Washington, D.C.
Yes, sir.
You know, and you know, we call that area the DMV. And I remember somebody who wasn't from this area one time. They heard me mention the DMV, and they said, you know, I've heard people from that area always mention the DMV. Do y'all hang out at the Department of Motor Vehicles or something? I don't understand. What does that mean? Of course, I had to explain to you DC, Virginia. But tell us about your early childhood in DC, moving to Morgantown, West Virginia, you know, trying to get away from the environment, and what happened when you got there. What did you realize? What happened when you got to Morgantown and your transformation from there?
Okay, for sure. So, like I said, growing up, and this year has taught me a lot too. I feel like coming into this year, I kind of had a lot of more resentment to my childhood. But, you know, that's part of the spiritual growth too. I had to seek that healing, right? So, you know, I can talk about it now, and it doesn't like pull me into a dark place. It's like, it's just the facts of what happened, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was what it was. It made me who I am today. It was tough. It was a lot, man. You know, my parents, man. And it's deeper than my parents. I realized, like, they if you knew better, you would do better. I say that all the time. Like, God forgive them, man. They did the best they can do, man, given their circumstances. No resentment. You know, they battled drug addictions and afflictions and things like that. So they being 29, I know what it's like to be a grown up. I can imagine having kids and having to deal with some of the things from the 90s. So, you know, they a lot of moving around, a lot of, you know, honestly, until I ended up in foster care, it was kind of like back and forth with my mom and dad. Like, whoever was in the best position at that moment financially kind of had the kids. And like, I respect, look, at the end of the day, we still here, right? Like, you know what I mean? You know, I had a lot of issues as a child. I was a good kid in school and things like that, but I had anger issues and trust issues and, you know, just typical issues that you would expect just from all the, you know, tumultuousness. And I didn't realize how bad it was. It's the funny thing. I used to just think like, oh, I'm good. So, I knew when I graduated high school, I had to get away, and I came out to Morgantown, and I didn't even realize at the time, but like I said, I just brought my problems with me. I was a bad influence of people around me. You know, it's really levels. So it's like in DC, I would have been considered one of the better people, but you know, you bring that same type stuff and that toxicity out here, and like I said, you're a negative influence. I got up in drugs and addictions myself, and women, and just got caught up in loss, man. For real, just lost. And it took a multitude of events for me to really realize that, man, this ain't what it's at, man. This ain't what I came out here. To be honest with you, what really spun it for me, you know, the pandemic hit on March 22nd this year. That's when the country went on shutdown. Well, that's my birthday, so I turned 29 on that day. Wow. And I tell this story quite often. That put me in a state where it was like, yo, like, you're 29. As you can imagine, I wasn't the most feeling like turning up kind of day compared to the past. I was shook, man, especially in March. I was like, man, like, am I about to die? And if I was to die, I haven't left no legacy. I'm just going day by day. I'm working, but I'm not building towards nothing. You know, you know what it's like when you just in that rut. You just getting up every day. You're not really assessing what you're doing or anything. and it made me feel some type of way. I'm not gonna lie to you, and it made me challenge myself in a different way, and the rest is history. I can say that this 29th year has been filled with so much growth for me, because that's when I knew I had to take this journey, man.
Wow. That's great. It's great that you, in the midst of this pandemic situation, you were able to look at your own life and examine it and think about making some changes. And
I think that's what God wanted, man. I think, and I noticed this and like I said, my heart goes out to anyone who's suffering. I know people lost loved ones. I know people are lost jobs, are in very inconvenient situations. But on the flip side of that, there are a group of people who this pandemic reset them. It woke them up. It showed them that yeah, I'm just moseying through life, and it showed me how vulnerable life can be, and how precious life can be, and how you need to value every single day. Don't think you can wait till tomorrow to get something done, because how do you know tomorrow going to come? You better start right now.
That's right.
I thought I could like straighten up at like 40 or 50 or something. You know what I mean? I was going to live my life while I was young, do all my dirt, and then just switch up at like 50 or something like that. That's what I was going to do. But then I was like, man, I can't do that, man. It's now, man.
Right now. It's right now. But that's great, man. Like you said, the situation is here. However you choose to look at it and deal with it is up to you.
Perspective.
And you've done a great job of turning things around. You made a lot of progress, and I know, man, I'm happy and proud for you, man. And the work that you're doing, you said that you're working with the youth. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, man, that's my passion. My whole premise is being the void. Like I said, all the different things that I dealt with as a child, I always felt like the underdog. I always felt like the voiceless. Like, I'm a very humble dude, and there's been so many situations in my 29 years where I recognize that, people almost look down on you, in a certain sense, because of where you come from or your credentials and just things like that. So, it burns on me, because I always want to like be the void. I want to let people know that, kind of like why Les Brown is my mentor. It doesn't matter where you started. It doesn't matter, where you began. It matters where you end up. And I feel like my climb and my journey and me getting to where I want to get to is inspiration in itself. I want the youth to see that, especially people who grew up in inner city struggles like me, that, man, that's just your beginning. That's not the end all be all. I used to think that it meant that I couldn't be nothing too, but look at me. You know what I mean? And my biggest thing, I want kids to realize it younger than 29. It took me to 29. And the crazy thing, how I know it's God, because out of everything that I've been through, I did not get any mentors until I seek mentors. So for me, it's like, what made me, given all I knew, and all, you know what you know, what made me want to seek change so bad when so many people come from my environment and they indulge in it? So many people, they just embrace it. They don't even think about it in that way. And it's like, what would make me want to be the opposite of that? Want to use all of those experiences and flip them on their head? I know it's God, man. I know that He ordered my steps purposely. I used to see it as a punishment. I see it as a blessing now, because I realized that when I get in situations dealing with these youth, I understand them. I'm not the person sitting back like, oh, I couldn't even imagine how you can go through that. It's like, nah, bro, like, let's talk. I understand, and I feel like I can connect with just those type of children in a different way. Foster care, children that don't feel wanted, that feel neglected, that don't feel like they have a voice, that just, you know what I'm talking about. So many children feel so lost, and parents, a lot of parents love their children. They mean well. But if you don't have the proper tips and tactics in structure to raise your child based on the structure you had, then you're doomed to repeat the same thing with them. And we see a lot of cycles of it just being repeated and repeated and repeated. So I feel like where I come into play is, I want to help stop that. I want to help people wake up. I want to help people realize that, hey, man, I was here for a reason. I do have greatness in me. I can achieve more. I don't have to wait. Like I said, wait until 45. Like, that's a lot of young people just think they can get old and then they, then change up. But I'm gonna live my life first. And my thing is, I want people to realize you can live your life young, still have fun, but do what you're supposed to do. And the real fun is in doing what you're supposed to do. Because man, I tell people it's a lot of empty calories in that sand, man. It's a lot of it. You think that that's what you want, but that's not really what you want, man.
Yeah. Yeah, those calories will fill you up, but they ain't giving you the nourishment that you need.
Nah, man, you be still empty at the end of the day, man. You be still empty as I don't know what.
Yeah, man. Hey, so you gotta lay some poetry on us, man. I've heard your poetry. You gotta tell number one. Tell us about how you got into poetry, what it does for you. The effect it has on your life.
So I appreciate that. I got into poetry, as a young dude, like middle school, elementary school age. It was this girl I used to like. She was in this little poetry class. That's really the reason why I joined. But it worked out because the teacher, he ended up seeing something in me. He saw it before I saw it, for real. I was really in the class for the girl, like I said. I was doing my little poetry assignments because that's what I had to do. But my eyes were on her. I think my first poem was about her or some stuff. But nah, he read it and he was like, "You wrote this?" Because I was, like I said, I used to be rebellious. I was always a good child and I got good grades, but I had my ways, man. Being a product of my environment, I just was rebellious, and I used to like to just piss. I feel like I used to piss my instructors off sometimes, just being me. So me being the little nuisance I am, he saw what I wrote. He was like, "You didn't write this. Like, you didn't write that." And I'm like, "Nah, I did." And he was like, "You did?" And like I said, I didn't even realize it was even nice at the moment, but I could tell he did because he just took a liking to me, and he just started to gravitate to me, and he was there. And like I said, I didn't realize it being young, but being grown now, and I look back on it, that started my foundation on poetry, and I've been writing poetry ever since. And it's always been something I did when I just need to get away from my head or my thoughts. I just write, and I didn't even necessarily always classify it as poetry particularly. I was thinking I was just writing, my therapeutic thoughts. And I've always kind of had like that unique rhyme scheme. It was just natural to me. And like I said, in part of the pandemic, once I noticed I wanted to be a speaker and I started to assess my talents, I noticed that stuff on poetry is you. You're big on gratitude. You write gratitude poetry. You love to write about your feelings. Like, that's your niche, the motivational poet. Like, tie that in together. Don't leave your poetry on the side. You can motivate people through your poetry as well. And that's when I started to run with that as well. So it makes me feel, like I said, it's therapy for me. Until I actually get to the point where I actually seek, actual therapy, it is therapeutic to me.
Man, that's great.
I was gonna say, I'll read you. I'll definitely read you one. I'll read actually something nobody never heard before. It's something I just wrote. So bear with me.
You premiering this on the Determination Determines Destination podcast.
Yes, sir. Like I said, I write every single day. So I mean, writers write, read, speakers speak. I gotta use it, right?
Let's hear it.
Yes, sir. And shout out to you know Larry, right? Larry Nomal.
Yeah. He was on last week.
Shout out to Larry, because I feel like he's part of the inspiration for this particular poem. He said something to me. He said something to me that stood out. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a poet. I consider myself an artist, but I never really like drilled down on you're an artist. It's just like one of those things. Like if someone was to say you're an artist, I would say yeah, but I never really thought on that. And he said something that like gravitated me. He said, "Sizzle, you're an artist. Put it in the art. Put the pain. Put everything. Put it in your art." And that stood out to me. I don't know why. It just stood out so hard. So it's like I just been really incorporating that lately. So this is what I came up with. All right. When is a good time to give up on your dream? When is a good time to give up on your dream? Should you wait till adversity is at an all-time high? Should you give it a few attempts just to say that you tried? Should you go back on all you promised and just accept that you lied? Just keep on saying it's all good while you burn on the inside? Should you seek help when necessary or lose out to your pride? Should you just give up on the destination because you don't enjoy the ride? When is a good time to give up on your dream? Does it matter by the day? Does it matter by the season? What if you have limited resources and support? Wait a minute. Is that even a good reason? What if you're always confronted with the demons of your past? Is that reason enough to give in? See, I really don't think so, because there's a reason why you're still living. So if you ask me, when is a good time to give up on your dream? I would have to say never. Discouragement will come. It's just proof that you must be better, let's face it. But you keep searching for your hidden treasure. Never give up on your dream. It will take a lot of sacrifice, I know. But I was born for this. Check this out. There were moments in my life that were so bad that I considered suicide. My God is so good, he wouldn't allow that, because I was born to help people not commit suicide. There were moments in my life that were so bad, I almost gave in to anxiety and depression. My God is so good, he wouldn't allow that, because I was born to help people cope with anxiety and depression. There were so many opportunities for me to give in, growing up to violence and a dysfunctional family and eventually foster care. But my God is so good, he wouldn't let none of that derail me, because I was born to help people who come from dysfunctional families and even foster care. I understand how everything in my life is full circle, and how I conquer my issues help others conquer theirs. These are the type of blessings I used to wish for in my prayers. I will save lives with my words. I believe I could talk someone off a bridge. Sizzle's only heating up. You can't keep me in the fridge. See, that's the thing. For so long, I was out of place. But I realized I must chase my dreams too. Confident in the victory, because I figured out I need to get myself a team too. Can't do this alone. Don't assume you can just because you've grown. Soon as I start tripping, I just pull out my phone and I see who I can reach out to for words of encouragement. I'm working on my spiritual nourishment. Working on me in general is crucial. I no longer want to go around attempting to be something that I'm not. So I've learned that I must give it all that I got. And I won't let depression slow me down anymore. Sin called my name so many times. And just because I changed, it's going to call my name so many more. But raise your hand if you're tired of walking through that same door. And it never leads to satisfaction. To be honest, it leads to me crying on the floor saying, Stefan, you know you could have did better. Get back on your dream. Get back on your dream. Get back on your dream. Don't you ever give up on your dream. Because if you ask me, there's never a good time to give up on a dream.
All right. Thank you for premiering that on the Determination Determines Destination podcast, man. That was great. That was great.
Thank you. Like I said, I just write from my heart, man. I write what's really on my mind. Like I said, it's healing for me as well. But I also realized that it could be healing for others. And that's why I write. I used to be so scared. I used to think ain't nobody want to hear this stuff. But now it's not for you, it's for me. But if you like it as well, it's a bonus.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there was people out there who heard what you just said, and they put them in the zone, man, because they can relate. Everybody can relate to what you just said. Yes, so sir. What are your future plans? What else do you have going on?
Yes, sir. So a few things. My own podcast, I'm premiering on December 14th. Of course, you know, you'll hear about that, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna be on mine at some particular time. The Be the Void podcast.
I love to be on there.
Yes, sir. I'm excited about that. And you know, over these last few months, I've been guesting on other people's podcasts and kind of just getting the feel for the whole dynamic. And it's amazing. And that's why I appreciate it more than I can even imagine. You know, other stuff, you know, like I said, I'm working on my book that will be out on March 22nd on my birthday. My main thing is really just ramping up for 2021. It's a takeover. You know, a lot of poetry. I'm recording a lot of videos. I'm not posting them right now because I kind of want to flood people starting January, February. You know, I really consider it just promotion for my book in March. Well, I really want to be known as the motivational poet, like worldwide. So that's everything to me. Continuing to grow, continue to keep, good people around, continue to build my brand, continuing to build myself as well, because it's not just talent, it's not just your skills, it's not just your craft, it's the person you become along the way as well that's equally as important. I told myself I don't want to be someone who's successful but no one likes you personally. Like I want to be a complete package, and God has stripped me in some ways, because I can be honest, like I look in the mirror all the time. I was on the path of being an asshole, man. Like I was on the path of being a jerk, man. Like for real, like kind of arrogant, kind of full of himself. Just a lot of things where I was too full of myself, man. And like God had to humble me. He had to give me that real humble pie, and like before I moved forward, because I couldn't take that me into the next stage, because like I said, it wouldn't have been as pure and authentic as it would have needed to be to really be as genuine and reach the amount of people that it needed to be.
Oh, that's great, man. Hey, man, I look forward to your podcast and that book and your videos. It's great to hear that you have some good future plans. And as we on our way to wrapping up, give the audience one piece of advice for people who are going through their own trials and tribulations in life, and a book that you think will help people. One of your favorite books that you think will help people.
I'm a bit biased on the book. I would say Les Brown, You Got to Be Hungry. I truly feel like that was a good book, especially at the stage I was at life, and just navigating and understanding that even someone as big as Les Brown has problems. So you're kind of naive to think that you wouldn't have problems along your way. And it's good to see that, because we usually see the success stories and we see people who make it, and we think, oh, that's what we want. Just in our culture now, the microwave culture, everybody wants it, but they don't really see the process behind it.
Right.
So I would tell people to, if you really, really want something, you're gonna have to really, really think on that, man, and don't just think about how bad you want it. Think about, are you willing to do what it takes to maintain it, not just get it, but to maintain it. Because getting something and maintaining it also is two different things. I'm also learning in life. Just make sure you got what it takes. Make sure you're taking the proper steps. Don't skip any steps, because that step you skip might be the one to come back to bite you at a later moment. So get mentors around you. Every single person, I don't care who you are, I would recommend that you have mentors, and mentors in the particular field that you aspire to be in. I talk to people all the time. If I want to be a football player, I'm not gonna go get a baseball coach. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna go get a baseball coach to play football. Now, not saying that there aren't skills and things that baseball coach may be able to teach me, but I'm gonna need something specific to where I'm going. So I tell people, find people in your field, or if you don't know your field or you don't know your passion, think about the things you're passionate about. What drives you? What pushes you? What, when you see it, it's like, that's interesting. Pay a little bit of attention into those areas, because your calling might be something that was always there. You just don't notice it. When it comes to speaking and poetry and things like that, I would be lying if I said I didn't, have those deep feelings on the inside that this was always me. It's just I would let my immediate environment and people around me and those turbirds in my head tell me, nah, Stefan, not you. You can't do this. But I've always known that I had a knack for poetry, that I had a knack for helping people, that I had a knack for being an inspiration. I maybe just didn't have a title for it. And then once I was introduced to Les Brown a few years ago, it was like, that's it right there. So sometimes you got to just keep doing you until you have that aha moment. It won't always come easily.
That's great advice. Great advice, man. It has been great having you on the podcast. And I look forward to having you on again, man. When your book comes out, maybe before that, as we get closer, let me know. We're gonna have you on again. Get that book promoted. And it's been great having you on, man. This is Sid Owsley from the Determination Determines Destination podcast, where we share stories of people using the 3Ds to success. Determination determines destination to overcome trials and tribulations in their life. Thank you, and I'm out.